The Jets 2024 draft class was made up of 7 players, as you all know, from Olu Fashanu in the first round to the last pick in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant, Jalen Key. In the days and weeks after the draft, our entire reporting team talked to the Jets college scouts about their findings on each selection. We wanted to find out what was unique about each player and why do they have a chance to succeed with the Jets. Let's get the conversation started with Jets Director of College Scouting, John Carr, on Fashanu, the Jets' 11th overall selection of the 2024 NFL Draft.
Well, Olu Fashanu, our primary area scout is Thomas Whitty, who handles that area in the Northeast for us. And Jay Mandolese is the national scout, and we had a couple of people take a look at him as a third look. But Thomas did such a great job of identifying the traits of this young man and at the same time getting all the pertinent background information that we need on this guy. And Jay did a great job as well as far as in his evaluation and background information he gathered on this guy. But we were super excited about Olu. You see the success he's had as a left tackle playing in a high-level conference in the Big Ten, not giving up any sacks. But just from his initial quickness off the ball, his contact balance, his anchor ability, plays with very good awareness. We had him pretty high on our board. And that when we made the trade and we were at the 11th pick, he was still there. I think it was a consensus in the room that he was our guy.
Olu's such a talented dude. I'm sure he could fit well in a lot of places. But what makes him the best fit for the Jets? And with that being said, what qualities stand out the most about him?
Well, not only is he a good person, a good character, and he's smart, right? He's very intelligent. He's not a high rep type player. He's a guy that can play left tackle or right tackle, and he works at it as well. So those things check the box for him. But when you look at the size and the length and the athletic ability, his quickness off the ball, those things were very important in our style of offense. You know, we run a lot of zone scheme type runs, and even in our pass pro, drop back and movement in the pocket. This guy has the ability to do all of those things. He has a lot of range as a player, as a pass protector. And so those things were pretty high on our list as far as the qualities that he checked, that he can be successful in our scheme.
You might remember that Penn State head coach James Franklin recounted the story of how he told Fashanu he should enter the 2023 draft. Fashanu, of course, elected to stay, but he had been on the radar of national scout Jay Mandolese and area scout Thomas Whitty for a long time.
We've known about Olu for a couple years now. He was a very highly coveted prospect last year. In my opinion, he was one of the best tackles last year. And you know, I think a lot of people were surprised when he decided to go back. But, I mean, you talk about a young man that has his priorities straight. And, you know, I know his mom wanted him to go back to school and get his degree. And he saw an opportunity to refine some of his game. And, you know, he wasn't looking to just jump to the league. And he knew what he had to do to get a little better. So he decided to go back for this past season. And, you know, we're glad he did because it gave us an opportunity to draft him here this year. But, I mean, an outstanding young man. As we went through this process, very few holes in terms of the person, the player. You know, he's played at a high level. He's been productive. He's smart. He's tough. He's everything we look for, you know, to bring into our organization.
So going through the school in, I guess it was 2022, it's Olu's true junior year. And you get out to the practice field and see big number 74. And I mean, right away, you're like, all right, who's that guy? And then, you know, you see him play games, you turn on the tape and you see him move and you get really excited about the player. And then you hear about the person too. And just couldn't say enough good things about him. Definitely try not to scout the helmet. That's number one. But just seeing his sheer size, his athleticism, that transcends everything you're looking at there. So I think with a guy like him, you know, maybe not doing what we're asking to do in terms of scheme, but when you see him move, when you see him get out in space, it's something that he can unlock. And then you see him run the 40 at the combine as well. and really get out there. It's definitely something he might have not shown as much on tape, but it is in his body.
All right, so intangibles off the charts. He's so impressive, like you said, and he comes from a tremendous family. But you're talking about smarts and toughness, and people get on me and say, okay, well, it's more than that. When you look from a scouting perspective, this guy playing left tackle, what does he bring to the table?
Consistency, right? Like, he's athletic, he's big, he's strong. I mean, like, he just checks the box from a traits perspective.
Yeah.
He could play left. I personally think he could play right. He could maybe play guard. Like, I wouldn't bet against the kid, playing anywhere on the offensive line. So, he's done it at a high level. He gets it. They rave about him at the school. He just kind of checks every box from that standpoint.
Can you talk about traits that you guys are looking at, whether that be hands, length, feet, all those athletic qualities?
Obviously long, right? He's only 21 years old. He's got the frame that you look for. He's got the feet. He can pass protect. He's really strong. I mean, you look at some of the stuff online of him in the weight room getting after it.
Yeah.
So I mean, he can do it all. He can slide. He can mirror. He can run block. He can position. He knows angles. All that stuff checks off.
As you go in and through the process, you have about a year or 2 years worth of data there that eventually the player is going to tell you who he is. So I think with Olu, he's someone that everything came up. He checked all the boxes, and he continued to check those over his 2 years as a starter there. I think his size, length, his pass protection, his ability to anchor, and doing it at the Big Ten level all really stood out this year especially. Just really impressed with the player and the person, and his ability to pass protect would really be the calling card. I just think, everything he's shown so far, he's calm, he's cool, he's collected, doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low, always on to the next rep, and just ready to dominate his one-on-ones. That's what he does.
So when you guys are in pre-draft meetings, do you actually discuss, okay, more than just the prospect, I imagine, what's the fit here? And can you explain why you think this is a good fit? Because what stood out to me during all his post-draft interviews is that, hey, I looked up to Tyron Smith basically my whole life when I was growing up in Maryland. I was watching tapes in high school of this guy play and what a prototypical left tackle he was. And I see similarities in terms of my body type. Do you guys talk about, okay, not only can he come in and he's a good player, but he can learn from these folks we already have in the building? Yeah,
no, just like with Olu, we've been working on him for a couple of years, right? So having Tyron is awesome, but like we've been evaluating before Tyron got here, and ultimately when you evaluate these guys, yes, it matters what our depth chart looks like, but we want to just get the player right. Like, what do we see the player being? And the cool thing about Olu in my mind is, yes, Tyron and Morgan are great guys to learn from, but in my mind, Olu's the perfect guy to learn too. Like, he's gonna soak it all in. He's gonna be a professional. He's gonna wait his turn. And ultimately, like, you can never have enough offensive linemen. And when you have a 21-year-old left tackle, like, you jump on it.